Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. This is Tierra Moore. I am one of the Detox Divas, and we are here tonight on Thursday, August 27th, and we are going to be talking about the benefits of maintaining an alkaline body. I'm going to go into some chemistry and some science tonight. I think you're going to learn some things. I think there are some myths out there about alkalinity that we're going to go ahead and bust up tonight. So I hope that this call is very informative. And then on the next call, next Thursday, we're going to be talking about some of the wonderful, wonderful Zalara products that support alkalinity. And we're also going to be talking about some recipes. All right, so just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Tierra Moore. I am a Buffalo, New York native, and I've been living in the Metro Atlanta area for over 20 years. So I guess I'm like an honorary Georgia peach, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm a science educator. I've been teaching science for over 20 years. I'm a wellness expert and advocate. I am also a Zalara consultant under the Green Organics family of companies, and I have a super passion for helping other people succeed. So just a few shout outs. First of all, I want to shout out Coach Tina because she asked me to host the call tonight. Actually, this tonight and next week, she asked me to host. So thank you, Coach Tina, for trusting me to be a host on this amazing platform that you have built up over so many years. So thank you, thank you, thank you. She is a powerhouse in the wellness industry and one of the most helpful business coaches I know. Also, our founder of Green Organics, which Zalara falls under, Paula Scarcella, she has been holding it down with Green Organics for over 15 years. And she is a female. She is just knocking down doors in her industry. So shout out to Miss Paula and also to Alexandria Brighton, the master formulator, the aromatherapy formulator, the educator, the owner of the Brighton Institute for Botanical Studies. She has over 30 years of experience, and she is the formulator for all of Zalara's wonderful, wonderful products. So, just to give a disclaimer, this presentation is for educational purposes only and it's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or replace individualized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider or registered dietitian before making significant changes to your diet, especially if you have a kidney condition, diabetes, or another chronic health condition. All right, so let's do a quick poll in the chat. When you hear the word alkaline, what first comes to your mind? Do you think of food? Do you think of pH? Do you think of detoxing energy, or you're just not sure? So go ahead and put in the chat. When you think of the word alkaline, what first comes to your mind? So go ahead and put that in the chat for me. All right, so I see food, I see pH, I see diet, I see water, I see health, balancing water. Okay, I just logged in with my phone, y'all, so I'm trying to see if I can show my face on here. For those of you who did not hear the beginning, uh I cannot get my camera on for some reason. So, yeah. All right, so a lot of people are saying pH. Okay. So we'll see, we'll revisit this question towards the end and see what you all think of after I do a little bit of education. All right. So what if feeling better begins with creating more balance? So when we think of alkaline living, let's think of it as a pattern. We're introducing more whole food plants, adequate fluids, less ultra processed food, and habits that support normal physiology. So, a lot of times when we think of alkalinity, people always just think of alkaline foods, right? We see all these charts all over the internet saying these are the alkaline foods, these are the acidic foods. So, everybody always thinks, oh, I just have to just incorporate these things into my diet. But alkalinity also includes other things. Sleep is very important. Your movement is very important because as you're breathing out carbon dioxide, that's going to also help to regulate your pH level. Hydration, hydration, hydration. And we're not just talking about water, we're talking about incorporating those electrolytes into your fluids. Stress management, man, this definitely has an impact on alkalinity and then breathing as well. So, alkalinity is not just a pH hack. The goal is not to chase a higher blood pH. Healthy blood pH is already tightly controlled by the liver and the kidney. So, we're going to talk about what it actually entails. So, first of all, we have to talk about the pH scale. We got to do just a little bit of science, guys, just a little bit to help you all really understand this. So, I'm pretty sure you all have seen the pH scale before, right? pH stands for potential of hydrogen. Some people also call it the power of hydrogen. So, it's a scale from 0 to 14. It's going to measure how acidic, or how basic, which is alkaline, a solution is. So in essence, it's really just telling us how much hydrogen ions, how many hydrogen ions are in a liquid. So, our body is made mostly of water. Our blood is made mostly of water. So, how much hydrogen ions, which are also called protons, are in our body? So, we know that the 7 level on the pH scale, that's going to be our neutrality point. So, most water that we get, our drinking water is about 7. Anything below 7 is going to be considered an acid. And by definition, acids release hydrogen ions. But guess what? The more hydrogen ions we have, the lower the pH, the more acidic the body gets. On the other hand, above 7, that's when we're going to have our bases. Bases are the opposite of acids. So acids release protons, but the bases, they accept them, which is going to increase the pH. So why does this matter? Every enzyme, protein, and cell in the body operates within a certain pH range. And the body is always trying to get the pH to where it needs to be. It hates extremes. It hates it. So it's always going to work super, super hard to keep that pH level exactly where it's supposed to be. So if we look at some of the examples, our stomach acid is about 1.5 to 3.5. The human blood, this is important. The human blood is 7.35 to 7.45. Very important. The body is always going to work to keep it right there where it is. If it gets out of that range, especially if it gets lower than that, we are on our way to see the Lord. Okay. We on our way to the upper room. So we don't want that. Baking soda, for example, which is sodium bicarbonate, is at about a 9. And so if you look on the graphic here, you see as we get lower and lower and lower on the pH scale, that's a condition called acidosis. We have too many hydrogen ions, which is the protons. Sometimes it's an indication of too much carbon dioxide in the body. So if there's too much carbon dioxide, what is the body going to do? It's going to try to get it out, right? It's going to increase our breathing. It's going to try to get that carbon dioxide out, right? And sometimes we just don't have enough bicarbonate in our blood. Then on the other hand, going towards the 8, 10, 12, 14 to the right, if it's too basic, now we have a condition called alkalosis. So we don't have enough protons, not enough carbon dioxide in the blood, or too much bicarbonate. So food itself has a pH. Like we already know that, right? We've seen that on Facebook, we've seen it on TikTok, or Instagram, Google, we've seen it everywhere. But the body itself is going to regulate the pH of the blood with the help of the lungs and the kidneys. So the pH of the food that we see on these charts, this is the acidic or basic level before we digest it, before we metabolize it. So once we actually eat it and start to metabolize it, it could have a whole different effect on the body. And we're going to talk about that. But our diet does influence our urinary pH. It's going to also influence how well we're able to intake minerals and absorb minerals, and overall our dietary quality. So don't log off. I know you see this chemical equation. Don't log off. Don't get scared. I'm gonna explain it to you. I'm gonna break it down so you can really understand. Because when I tell you, our bodies are so amazing. Like when the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, we really are. Like seriously. So let's go back to the acid side, going down below 7. Because remember, the blood wants to kind of stay between that 7.35 to 7.45. That's the sweet spot. So as we start to go down past that, okay, now the body is like, okay, we gotta put a buffer in place. And the most powerful, the most effective buffer is called a carbonic acid bicarbonate buffer. Now we already know the word bicarbonate, that's in baking soda. So we already know that, right? So boom, check it out. So let's say our body is too acidic, right? That means we have too many protons. So I don't know if you all can see my cursor right here while I'm circling around this H with the plus symbol. Somebody in the chat tell me if you can see that. So if we have too many protons in the blood, then this is acidosis, right? So what is the body going to do? It's going to introduce bicarbonate. That's going to come from the kidneys. Now remember, bicarbonate is a base. Bases love to accept or connect to or bind to protons. Remember, protons is the same thing as hydrogen ion. They love to connect. They're the connectors. So it's going to connect with that proton, and as a result, this weak acid called carbonic acid is going to be produced. Y'all follow me? Put a one in the chat if y'all follow me so far. I know this little chemistry. I don't know how y'all felt about chemistry in school. But now this carbonic acid is gonna form, right? But guess what, y'all? Carbonic acid is just like my ex. His name is Henry Child. He don't like to be caught up. So what is this carbonic acid gonna do? It's gonna split. It's gonna release that hydrogen. So you see, we got two hydrogens right here, right? It's gonna kick one of them hydrogens to the curb, child, just like Henry kicked me to the curb back in the day, girl. So it's gonna kick this hydrogen to the curb, boom. And then what's gonna happen? We're gonna get two things produced: carbon dioxide and water. Y'all following me? So what's gonna happen with the carbon dioxide? The body is going to exhale it out. Now the lungs are getting involved, okay? So the left side of this equation, that's the lungs territory. That's the respiratory system doing its thing, right? But on the right-hand side, that's the kidneys. That's going to be the metabolic regulation. Okay, so all this works together. But then let's say the body is too alkaline. Go back to my graphic. Too alkaline means I don't have enough hydrogen ions. I don't have enough protons. So now the body is going to kick in again, fearfully and wonderfully made, just like the Bible said, baby. So what is it going to do? Okay, it's going to introduce carbon dioxide right here. All right. How does that happen? Sometimes you ever see somebody hyperventilate? You ever see that? Okay. But it's going to be the opposite of that. The breathing is going to slow down. The breathing is going to slow down. Why? Because now the body is saying, hey, don't give that carbon dioxide away because we need that carbon dioxide. So it's going to slow the breathing down. It may even make you hold your breath because it wants to keep that carbon dioxide. All right. So it's going to take that carbon dioxide, it's going to bind with water. You know, our blood is mostly water. So once that carbon dioxide gets into the blood, It's going to connect or bind with water. Now, guess what? Boom, we right back over here to that weak acid, carbonic acid. But again, carbonic acid is just like my ex baby. He gonna what? Kick that hydrogen to the curb. Boom. So now we over here, and now we have an extra proton, just like what the body needs. Because up here, remember, with alkalosis, we didn't have enough protons. So now we have more protons, but then we also created bicarbonate. And what's going to happen? The kidneys is either going to absorb this bicarbonate back into the bloodstream. If your kidneys is not working right, it's going to just kick it out your body. Okay. And then we also know that the kidneys continues to make this. But if you say the upper right hand corner is covered up, okay, so the kidneys does several things with bicarbonate. It makes it, it stores it, but it also can kick it out if it's not working properly. Okay. So let me know if y'all understand how this buffer system works. And as you can see, the arrows are going to the left and to the right because it's a reaction that can go either way. So just depending on what your body needs, it may go to the right, it may go to the left, just depending on what your body needs. Okay. And that when the lungs kick in with the carbon dioxide effect, that's going to be our short-term regulation. When the kidneys get involved, that's going to be a little bit more long-term. But what happens if our buffer system fails? Uh-oh. We're in trouble now, baby. Molly, you in danger, girl, because now the body has to take drastic measures. The alkaline minerals, including calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and zinc, because the body needs these things now, it's going to start to take it, hijack it from the bones, from the muscles, and other areas of the body. Then they're going to put those minerals into your blood. That's a process called remineralization. But this is catastrophic to the body because it's leaching from the bones, now we are at risk for osteoporosis. This also stresses the kidneys, the liver, and the lungs completely out. So it's always important for that system to be working properly. So just another thing about the pH scale that people may not have known. Maybe you know, maybe not. Maybe it's something new, maybe not. But let's go back to these numbers. So remember, the body always wants to kind of stay in that neutral range. The human blood pH is 7.35 to 7.45. And we have some other things on the list that kind of show you the pH of different foods. But again, this is before metabolism. Okay. Now, this is something that you may not have known about these numbers. Let's say we go down to a 6 on the pH scale. Did you know that a 6 is not just a step down? That means now the blood is 10 times more acidic if we go to a 6. Let's say we go down to a 5. Oh my goodness. We're now at 100 times more acidic. What? 100 times more acidic? Let's say we get down to a 4. 1,000 times more acidic than the body wants to be. And look at the 3. I didn't have even going down to the 2 to 1, or the 1 or the 0. But if we go down to the 3, that's 10,000 times more acidic. Wow. Look at some of these foods that are 3s. Who loves bacon? Oh man. Who loves that old swine? Look at some of this other stuff. Lobster, that hard liquor. Mm, mm, mm. Tragic. But let's go on the other side. Our 8, that's going to be 10 times more alkaline. Our 9, 100 times more. Our 10, 1,000 times more. So you get the picture, right? So you can just see how impactful it is just to go one step on the pH scale. It has a very big impact. Now, there's a difference between something being acidic and acid forming. We're going to talk about this. And there's a difference between something being alkaline and alkaline forming because remember, once you eat something, the body has to break it down, it has to metabolize it. And with the chemical reaction that takes place when you metabolize it can be completely different from the initial pH, let's say, of it being on the tree or on the bush, when you first pick it. That could be a completely different number, but we'll talk about that. So, here's an example, lemons. This is the perfect example, right? So we know that lemon juice is a very strong acid. It has a pH of about 2 to 3. So it's mainly just citric acid. We got the chemical formula right there for you. Now, during metabolism, that citric acid is going to be broken down. It's going to be oxidized. Oxidized just means we're adding oxygen to it. We're going to produce some carbon dioxide that's going to get released. Then we got the water, which is neutral. But if you look here, the metabolism can generate what? Bicarbonate. Who remembers, is bicarbonate an acid or a base? Who remembers? Is it more acidic or is it more alkaline? Who remembers?
I think you said
Clarence said he having watermelon as we speak. So bicarbonate is more alkaline. So even though on the tree, lemon juice is a strong acid, pH 2 to 3, when the body metabolizes it, it creates bicarbonate, which is a base, a weak base. So it actually has a alkaline forming effect on the body, which is great. So that's why people always say drink lemon water in the morning, or they may say drink lime water in the morning, because it has that alkalizing effect on there. So just a couple of terms. I'm not going to go real deep into this. I'm just kind of going to give an overview because I don't want y'all to get lost in the weeds. But PRAL, that's the potential renal acid load. So basically, this is the formula that explains the acid or the basic load on your kidneys after you eat something. Okay. So it's based on protein, it's based on phosphorus, it's based on potassium, magnesium, and the calcium content. So it's going to balance those things out and it's going to tell us if something is going to leave an acidic residue in the kidneys or is it going to leave a alkaline residue in the kidney. So that's what that PRAL is. NEAP, that's net endogenous acid production. That's basically going to tell us how much acid your body has to neutralize in order to stay in the safe zone. So that's what that means. Okay. So as we can see, if we have a higher um, potential renal acid load, that's going to be a lower pH level. So we can see like our processed meats, our refined grains, our hard cheese, this is going to be more acidic on the kidneys. However, like our whole foods, like our leafy greens, our root vegetables, our fresh fruit, that's going to have a more positive impact, which is going to be a negative acid load on the kidneys. All right, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. Some minerals and electrolytes that are important that help with fluid balance, nerve signaling, muscle function, are all of these wonderful things. Potassium. So we find that in our leafy greens, our bananas, our beans, our sweet potatoes. Not only that, it also helps to lower the acidic load on the kidneys and maintain healthy blood pressure. Our magnesium, that's in our nuts, our seeds, our leafy greens. I got seeds twice. I'm sorry. Whole grains. That's going to support the enzyme function, the muscle relaxation. As a lot of us, use our magnesium lotion and our magnesium sprays. So we know about that, the muscle relaxation, but also in the whole food form, it does that as well. Calcium in our leafy greens, our dairy, our fortified plant milks. This goes way beyond blood health. It's going to support the nerves and the buffering system. And then sodium, that's just naturally occurring in our food. Sometimes people just consume way too much sodium, but it is something that the body actually needs as well. All right, I'm going to skip past that. So, to live alkaline, we should focus on 80% or more of a diet consisting of alkaline forming foods. So, again, alkaline forming is leaving a alkaline residue in the kidneys when we metabolize the food, not just the pH of it when it's on the tree or on the bush or in the dirt as a root or whatever. After it gets metabolized, it has an alkalizing effect on the body. So here are some examples of some of those things. And then we want to keep our acid forming foods at 20% or below. So we're not saying that you have to just go all out and it's just like I only eat things that are alkaline forming. No, you can eat the other things too, but you just have to try to keep it below 20%. Okay. And then don't forget your herbs and your spices. These are some great additions to add as well that have an alkalizing effect on the body as well. Ginger, parsley, basil, garlic, turmeric, cilantro, rosemary, cinnamon, just to name a few. So the bottom line, eating an alkaline style diet is healthy because it focuses on whole foods. The real advantages include better heart health, lower levels of bad cholesterol and triglycerides. We have more vital nutrients because we have a higher daily intake of the magnesium and the potassium and the other electrolytes that we need. Our muscles are stronger because we have less muscle loss. Because remember, we talked about before how the body will pull from the muscles if it's not going to get what it needs. If that buffer system isn't working right, it's going to pull from the muscles. It's going to pull from the bones. But we're not going to have that if we are actually eating those whole foods, and being more alkaline. And then, of course, less inflammation. We're eating fewer processed items. We're eating less added sugars, refined sugars. We're eating less unhealthy fats. So naturally, that's going to reduce the inflammation, which is going to help our bodies and our organs optimize. Okay. And then we have some acid forming foods. These are things we want to have 20% or less, right? Our refined sugars, our gluten, processed food, fast foods. I'll let you all read through the list. But as you can see, pretty much, the staples of the standard American diet. These are the things we definitely want to, have 20% or less of in our diet. All right. So let me say something about this right here. So, diet induced acidosis. If you read through all of these risks, right? We have the risk of cancer, atherosclerotic disease, which means plaque building up in the arteries, degenerative diseases like ALS and Alzheimer's, dementia, stuff like that. Your diabetes, your autoimmune diseases, your fatty liver, your chronic kidney disease, osteoporosis, fatigue, fibromyalgia, adrenal fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome, diet induced alkalosis. Let me read something to you guys. This is from a book called The Alkaline Life by Ross Bridgeford. I want to read this to you because all of this is happening in what is called the safe zone. And I'm sorry that my camera's not working, so y'all can't see me read. But please just listen along. This is worth it. Just hold on, give me a minute. So it says, you've learned about the body's lines of defenses against the acidic standard modern diet. If you think that's already scary and eye-opening, brace yourself for what's about to come. The damage of an acidic diet is most definitely not confined to just the stress caused by regulating pH back to where it needs to be. It's not just the stress to the liver, kidneys, and lungs and borrowing alkaline minerals from your bones and your muscles is far more insidious than this. Due to how stressful it is for your body to raise your blood pH all the way back to the ideal pH of 7.365, your body can only raise it to a level that is considered quote unquote safe. But this is far from optimal. Your pH buffering mechanism will kick in, but your body won't get your pH all the way back to normal or optimal, just to a quote unquote safe level, hovering a couple of points just below the optimal pH of 7.365. This is called diet-induced metabolic acidosis. Remember, if your blood pH drops just a little below 7.365, you have the risk of dying. So your body gets to a place where you are safe from immediately dying, but you don't want to live there. In a state of diet-induced acidosis, sickness and disease proliferate. I'm almost done. Increased risk of cancer, atherosclerosis, everything I have listed on this screen. All of these things are happening in the safe zone. Isn't that scary? So even just like a couple of points right below 7.365, which is considered the safe zone, is even though it's a safe zone, you're not going to die, but it's still not the optimal place where your body needs to be. You can still develop all this crap that I have on the screen. Oh my God, just by being just a few points below the optimal level. So that lets us know that, living an alkaline lifestyle and making sure our blood pH is in that range where it's supposed to be is so very important. Because I know one thing, I'm not trying to deal with all this. And, a lot of you all know my story. I did have an autoimmune disease. I did suffer from lupus, suffer with it for over 20 years. And thanks to the Green Organics products, I was taking the Healing Trilogy, the Black Sea Oil, the fulvic minerals, the vitality. My lupus has been undetectable. Hallelujah. Right? No blood test can detect it. And my doctor was talking about, well, I still want you to take the medicine. The devil is a liar. No, I'm not. My medicine is going to be that mind, body, and soul. My medicine is going to be that black seed oil, that vitality, okay? And that fulvic. I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to bring Eileen on. Eileen. Are you there, sister? Eileen has a wonderful, wonderful testimony about how her mother's health got completely transformed by following an alkaline diet.
Hi
Eileen,
there. Hi there.
okay,
I'm
hey,
gonna I'm gonna leave my camera on if that's okay because of the
yeah,
background here. I mean my camera off rather.
yeah.
And may I just say, Tiara, that was such a beautiful, beautiful presentation. You must have aced your chemistry class like I did not. That was beautiful and everybody's still awake, which is amazing. It was perfect, perfect, perfect. And I do want to talk about my mom. My family's been very active in alkalinity for, I'd say, at least 20 years. Half my family are naturopaths, chiropractors, fundamental nutritionists. And myself, I have two nutrition degrees, and I'm getting my doctorate in natural medicine. So, boy, was I excited beyond words to see these pH drops because, every health trend seems to go have a curve. And the curve, honestly, for alkalinity was 20 years ago, and then people forgot how important it was. So, Tiara, thank you for reminding us all. And thank you
Yeah.
also for explaining we don't have to be saints or martyrs with our food, because when I used to lecture on this, I would always talk about the 80-20 rule, 80% alkaline and 20% live your life. And for me, that was
Mhm.
always mint chip ice cream. But anyway, this became so, so real for my family when my mom, who's a nurse, spent her life taking care of people, started to slow down and have a cough, and she thought she had bronchitis, went to a doctor, and the doctor told her she had stage 4 cancer that metastasized to her lungs.
Oh,
And just like a lot of people, if you followed like Dolly Parton's story, she spent her whole life taking care of people, and the last year taking care of her husband and ignoring signs. So I so encourage you to keep taking these products and to just take care of your own health. But with my mom, she did not do that. That's just not our family way, I suppose. So after she was diagnosed with this, because she was trained as in the medical field, she did that one round of chemo and she turned to us and said, "This is not for me." So what we did was we did some research and we found there are actually two places that do this. They have a strict alkaline diet. They're for people whose bodies are cancering and with other health challenges. And you go there for 3 weeks. It's not expensive. One's in San Diego. One's, I think, in either Austin or Dallas. I think it's Austin, Texas. And my mom had to give up the lifestyle. We used to joke she lived on Sweet and Low. I don't know if anybody remembered the pink packets, the toxic, most toxic things. And she went to this facility to theoretically spend a couple of weeks. She went with my dad, and my dad could not take it after a week. So I, of course, got the short straw of the four kids, and I went with her. And I ate what they ate, which was basically plant-based alkaline products and juices and anything alkaline, no sugar. Sugar is the enemy. Cancer loves sugar. Well, when she came there, she had an oxygen tank. That's how far it had gone. She had started a cervical cancer, metastasized to her lungs. So we're at this facility. I get there at the beginning of the second week. She's still on the oxygen, but as she keeps consuming these alkaline beverages and alkaline foods, which were actually filling, no sugars, nothing not alkaline, she started to feel better, such that she actually gave her oxygen tank away to somebody who came in with brain cancer. And of course, I had to be the one to get the tank back, which was, I'm sure I'll be like St. Peter's giving me negative points for that. But what what ended up happening was after the end of the third week, she went back to her oncologist and she was in complete remission. We're talking about a stage 4 going to a stage 0 where it already spread to her organs, the cancer, and complete remission, 3 weeks. So because we had already preached in my family about alkalinity, this was sort of the telling effect. And then the sad story was when my husband and I visited her 2 weeks later. This is to show you how deadly things like sugar are and how you should try to maintain that 80%. My husband was going into a Starbucks, fortunately, even married to me, and seeing what's in this house and taking it. He thinks Starbucks is a food group. And my mother asked him, this was 2 years after, in complete remission, can he get her a hot chocolate? And he said, Mom, you can't have that. It has sugar. It's acidic. It's horrible. She goes, oh, it's okay. I kind of went back to that. Well, sad to say, this was in December. And then by Mother's Day, she actually passed on Mother's Day. The cancer came back like a stampede because she'd
Mm.
given up that alkaline plant-based diet. And
Oh,
and she's not the only one that I've seen. I have a good friend who's an attorney, also diagnosed with stage 4, switched entirely to alkaline foods, complete remission. So while I'm not telling you to go out and be martyrs and throw out every great snack in your home, I am so grateful for Paula and Alexandria for coming out with these pH drops, because I know you touched a little bit on alkaline water. That helps also. But the body loves food just as much as it would love alkaline water.
mhm.
So that that's pretty much the two stories I have to share. This is so important. Alkalinity might have started as a trend 20 years ago, but it is just so important that you incorporate this into your own diet. And we have the obligation to share, not just that we've seen a great movie, but that we have stuff that can actually save lives. So Tiara, thank you so much for letting me share about my mom. I still get a little verklempt, as they say, because she actually passed on Mother's Day 18 years ago. Um, so just listen to what Tiara has to say.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Thank you for sharing that information, sharing that story, giving us encouragement. Everybody, please just show her some love in the chats. Thank you. Okay, guys. So look, I don't know if you can see me on my phone. My camera would come on to my computer. But look, it's me. You can see my face. It's me, you guys. Look, I'm a spotlight. Hey, peace. Okay. I got just a little bit more to share. And then I'm gonna wrap it up. It's already 8:46. I'm sorry I'm going a little bit long, but I just got just a little bit more to share. So just hang up with me, guys, okay? All right, hold on. All right. So building an alkaline supportive kitchen. So what you keep around you shapes what you consume. So listen, these are some quick little practical things you can keep in the house. So in your crisper, you want to keep your green and your colorful produce. The body loves color. God gave us these beautiful rainbow colors of vegetables and fruits for a reason. They all have a great beneficial purpose for the body. In our pantry, we want to have our whole grains, our legumes, our nuts, and our seeds. On our countertops, we want to have our fruit, we want to have our teas, we want to have our water. And in our freezer, we have our frozen vegetables, our berries, and our easy backups. Now, of course, don't forget the healthy fats, our avocado, our extra virgin olive oil, our coconut oil, our nuts, our seeds. All those are important. Hydration is also very important. We got our water. We got our cocoa blue. So those of you who are not familiar with green organics or Zalara, listen, cocoa blue is where it's at. Okay, ultimate hydration. You get your electrolytes, you help to detox, you got all the B vitamins in there, you have your minerals in there. It is amazing. Your herbal teas, your cucumber water, your lemon water. I like to do the water with the cucumber, the mint, the ginger, and it's something else I put in there. I can't remember. But I love that. Your infused water, with your fruit. Of course, your fulvic mineral water. That's going to have your 70 over 70 trace minerals, your electrolytes, your antioxidants are all in there with your amino acids. In our brand new product, our pH alkaline drops, potassium, sodium, sulfur. You have your ancient trace minerals from the plant and marine deposits. All those things I mentioned are all alkaline forming. So even if you have a drink that's on the acidic side, you add your pH alkaline drops, boom. You reduce the acidity, you increase the alkalinity, and now you're supporting that alkaline lifestyle through hydration. Our Glucoprotect also has those 24 whole food plants and plant vitamins and mineral. Our Ocean Vitality, over 70 trace elements and minerals, magnesium, potassium, calcium, iodine. It's going to support your hydration, your nerve and muscle function, and your energy. So we have all of these great options to choose from. And then, just simple swaps. Simple swaps. Instead of soda, get you some sparkling water and put some citrus in it. Instead of the candy, don't get them M&Ms. Get you some fruits and some nuts. Instead of that white bread, get you some sprouted bread or some whole grain bread. The heavy processed breakfast, let's swap that for a smoothie, some steel cut oats, or a whole food breakfast. And instead of having this big old slab of steak with the ribs, with the chicken, and all that other stuff people be piling on, have more of a vegetable forward meal with a smaller portion of the meat. We're not saying you have to completely give up your meat. Just have a smaller portion of the meat and a bigger portion of the vegetables. Okay. So choose your swap. I want everybody in the chat to tell me which one could you repeat at least 4 days this week? Which swap could you do at least 4 days this week? Because remember, consistency beats a perfect alkaline day once a month. So let me check the chat. Let's see what we got. Green smoothies, no meat, nuts, vegetable meal, more fruits and vegetables. Okay, I see smoothies again. Meats, cutting out the meats. Okay, meat dinner, breakfast. Okay, vegetable, water, nuts. Okay, I see some great, great things in the chat. So here's a challenge, right? Here's a challenge. One small action each day. By day 7, you would have built a full alkaline supportive plate. So day 1, drink more water. Of course, you can add you some cocoa blue in that water. Of course, you can add you some fulvic in that water. Okay. Bump up that hydration. Okay. Second day, add you some leafy greens, right? Third day, now I'm going to replace one of my sugary drinks for something that's healthy. Day 4, now I want to eat one plant forward meal, meaning plants are the dominant portion or the largest portion of my plate. At least half of our plate should really be vegetables. You know, a lot of times we have meat is the half, but it really should be half vegetables at least. Day 5, now you want to add your herbs and your spices. We have lots of options out there, and a lot of them are alkaline. Okay. Day 6, now we're going to reduce our ultra processed foods. And by day 7, boom, we're going to build our alkaline supportive plate. So you don't have to do it all at once. Just one small action every single day will help us to get a fully alkaline plate. So our key takeaways, we want to make sure we're hydrating and not with just water. We want to add our minerals. We have lots of great options for that. We want to eat more plants. We want to and try to eat organic as much as you can, right? Reduce our ultra processed foods. Support your body's natural regulation systems. Your kidneys, your liver, your lungs are working hard, as we saw, to keep that buffer system going, right? To keep that blood pH where it needs to be. But we got to help it out. You know, they can't do all the work by themselves, you know? We got to support them. And then pursue balance and not perfection. So the goal isn't to fear acid, the goal is to create balance. So I will be back with you on next week. I'm going to share some pH test results of some of our Zalara products. I'm going to share some recipes. And if you all have any questions, especially for those of you who are part of Green Organics, if you have any questions that you want me to address during the next call, put them in our group chat. Put them in our group chat. I'll research, and either myself, Eileen, one of us, we'll get all your questions answered. Look at my hair. We'll get all your questions answered that you want to know. But guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed being with you all. I do apologize for having my little camera issues. I'm gonna use a different. This is a new computer. But I'm gonna use a different computer next time. So hopefully I won't have that issue. But I hope you all learned something tonight. Let me know if I did an okay job. I hope I didn't bore you with all that chemistry. And look, I wanted to go deeper, but I was like, no, I don't want to go too deep because then they're gonna be asleep. But but like I said, if you all have any questions at all, just put them in the group chat. If you learned something, please just show me some love in our group chat and just let me know something that you learned. And I love y'all. Peace. Bye-bye. I'll make sure I get the recording to you all as soon as possible, okay? All right. Good night, you guys.